Muy bien, chicos de noveno. Ready? World history. Now, this is the continuation of the section 2, New Nations, 962. Reason being is because the second part is quite important. By the time we get into page 980, we have to really understand the reasons why whatever happened before what we're going to be learning in page 980. Therefore, I separate the new nations stuff in two parts, okay? Now we have learned so far Europe's colonial empires collapsed after World War II. And then most African nations won independence peacefully, but some faced armed conflict. The Middle East faced dispute over oil resources and conflict between Israel and its Arab neighbors. Okay, Europe's overseas colonial empires crumbled in the decades after World War II. More and more African nations living under European rule insisted on equality and independence. Now we go to page number 968. 968, your book. 968, the Middle East, continuation of new nations. The Middle East. The Middle East is a diverse region. In most nations, the majority of people are ethnic Arabs who practice Islam. But there are also important non-Arab Muslim states such as Iran and Turkey. Lebanon has a large Christian population. Israel is the world's only Jewish state. As we continue, Arab and Muslim nations, after World War II, Syria and Jordan gained their independence from European powers. However, these nations, as well as Iran, Iraq, and the nations of the Arabian Peninsula, face many of the same problems as other former colonies. Corruption and military takeovers were common occurrences. The Arab League worked to improve relations among Arab nations and to develop economic and educational programs. History controlled by Europeans of the Middle East. As you see this map, uh, this is what the European countries used to have presence in the Middle East, okay? Like for instance, Israel was controlled by an international force, and then the French, they were dealing with Turkey, and they have some influence also in Syria, okay? And you have the Italian control and Russian control in some other different countries. The oil as a resource. Oil resources have made the Middle East vital to the world economy. Of the Western world depends on oil resources coming from the Middle East. Countries such as USA, even Canada, Mexico, and also Europe, it depends from the production of oil from the Middle East countries. Arab nationalization. We understand nationalization as the takeover of business or property by the government. And we have some samples here in your book, such as the Suez Channel in 1956 and the Arab nations oil industry. Even after the decline of imperialism, the West remained a major influence in the Middle East. Much of the region has large deposits of oil, a resource vital to the industrialized world. During the Cold War, the superpowers battled for access to the Middle East oil. Western oil companies also tried to maintain influence. Some leaders sought to limit Western influence by nationalizing their resources. Nationalization, as we said before, is the takeover of business or property by the government. In Egypt, President Gamal Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal in 1956, ending a century of British and French control. In Iran, Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh sought to nationalize the nation's oil industry. In response, the U.S., the United States, helped oust Mossadegh from power. The United States supported the Shah of Iran for many years, a firm anti-communist. Now, on chart number 7, the oil timeline, you have the most important events, okay? And you can see, as we learned some time ago, in the during the industrial revolution, the coal was the source of energy. Now we have the word that is historically talking. The word is changing into the dependence on oil. Okay, so in 1869, the Suez Canal opens, and then you have that by 1920 there are 9 million cars in the USA. Okay, so just imagine the need for oil for the new quotation marks modern industries. Within the Middle East, there is a country named Israel, okay? And we're gonna talk about the birth of Israel. We learned before about the Holocaust, and you remember that the word Holocaust from the Greek words holos and kaustos, it means the whole burn, was historically used to describe a sacrificial offering burned on an altar. Since 1945, the word has taken on a new and horrible meaning. The ideological and systematic state-sponsored prosecution and mass murder of millions of European Jews, as well as millions of others, including gypsies, the intellectual disabled, dissidents, and homosexuals, by the German Nazi regime between 1933 and 1945. To the anti-Semitic Nazi leader Adolf Hitler, Jews were an inferior race, an alien threat to German racial purity and community. After years of Nazi rule in Germany, during which Jews were consistently persecuted, Hitler's final solution, now known as the Holocaust, came to fruition under the cover of World War II, with mass killing centers constructed in the concentration camps of occupied Poland. Nearly 6 million Jews and some 5 million others, targeted for racial, political, ideological, and behavioral reasons, died in the Holocaust. More than 1 million of those who perished were children. Birth of Israel. After the Holocaust and after World War II, Israel was recognized as a nation, okay? As you saw in the last chapter, the region known as Palestine became a British mandate after World War I. Both Jews and Arabs saw these lands as their rightful home. Many had lived there for centuries. Others migrated there during the British mandate. Conflict often erupted between the two groups. After the Nazi Holocaust in the 1940s, worldwide support for a Jewish state in Palestine increased. Many felt that the only way to keep such an event from happening again was for the Jewish people to have their own country. In 1947, the United Nations called for an end to the British mandate in Palestine. The United Nations also approved a plan to divide the region into a Jewish state and a Palestinian Arab state. Jews accepted this plan, but Arabs rejected it. The British left Palestine in 1948, following the UN plan. Jews in Palestine declared the independent state of Israel. The United States quickly recognized Israel, that is, officially agreed to treat the new nation as a state with a government, legitimate government. The Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, nowadays is Russia, and most other countries also recognize Israel. Israel's Arab neighbors, however, opposed the creation of the Jewish state, of what they saw as Arab land. They attacked Israel the same year that Israel was formed. They were attacked by the Arabs. However, Israel defeated the Arab forces. Many Arabs remain in Israel as citizens. However, a large number of Palestinian Arabs fled Israel during that war. Many ended up in refugee camps in Egypt, Jordan, or Syria. An equal number of Jews fled Arab lands and moved to Israel. Other Arab Israeli wars would follow in the years to come. Para terminar, learning skills. Today we learn the introduction for the continuing conflicts as we approach to pages 976 and 980. We will learn related issues such as conflicts in the Middle East, fundamentalism, terrorism, wars in the Middle East. Are you ready? Thank you.